pandemic, as we go through this difficulty, I want to remind us that we are a people not without hope. We're a people that's full of hope. Times are difficult. The reality is this thing is it's a pandemic, and I'm 52 years old. And I'm sure, matter of fact, yeah, I know nobody listening to me right now can recall ever experiencing this in their lifetime. Like, we are literally in uncharted waters. We've never seen this before. And so there's a tendency to take it too serious, and then there's a tendency to not take it serious at all. And so on one hand, you have people who are absolutely panicking, which is why you can't find any toilet paper anywhere. And then you have people who are not taking it serious at all, which is why you have people at the beach in Florida and other places just kind of hanging out and not paying attention to anything. And I think living on either extreme is the wrong thing to do, especially if you are a believer in Jesus Christ. The reality is this: as believers in Christ, we ought to think different in times of crisis. Like we should be the visible representation of what Jesus would be like in a crisis, right? Like, a perfect example is when Jesus was on the boat with his disciples, and his disciples, and so the wind and the waves came up, and it looked like their world was about to be over, and they were panicking and screaming and yelling, and Jesus was asleep on the boat. Right? And then they wake him up, and then he stills the winds and the waves, that kind of thing. And then he chastises them for their little bit of faith. And so when you see Jesus, one of the things that you never catch Jesus doing, no matter what he faced in life, you never see Jesus panicking. Right? You see him with emotion. You see him hurt. You see him disappointed. You see him happy, right? You see a full range angry. You see him in a full range of emotions, but what you never see him is panicked. And so I just want to help us to remember, as followers of Jesus Christ, we should be wise, but we shouldn't be panicked, right? We should be wise. We should make sure that we have food. We should make sure that we have resources. But we shouldn't be panicked. We shouldn't be at the store fighting with somebody over some tissue paper, right? Like, we shouldn't do that. Why? Because we're a people not without hope. And so because we're a people not without hope, we approach this thing altogether different. If we understood church history, we would understand quickly the church literally thrives in difficult times of persecution, in times of turmoil, in times of pestilence, in times of disease. The church thrives during those times. In the Roman Empire, when or in Rome, when the Black Plague, the bubonic plague hit, it was Christians that actually ran into the city to care for people, and the church exploded during those times. When you look at the Chinese church in the midst of persecution in the 20th century, to the extent where they could not even meet in homes or in public places, they had to meet in homes, or what they would do. There's reports where they would have to tear up Bibles page by page, and then they would go to a park and exchange pages with each other and come back and exchange pages again. And the church blossomed in China under difficult times, because we are made for this. We are made for difficult times. We are the arms and the legs of Jesus Christ as an extension to the world, and God has placed us, the church, in the world as an answer to the problems that exist in this world. And so we have to be there's two things we have to keep in tension. There's the supernatural spiritual realities that we have to keep in tension. That's where God does what he does, and you can't stop him from doing whatever it is he wants to do. Then there is the practical existential reality that we have to do. Case in point, when Jesus did the miracle of turning the water into wine, he could have made the pots appear, and he could have made the pots appear with water in them. And when he made all that appear, he could have turned the water into wine. But that's not what Jesus did. Here's what he did. He told the people there, he says, you guys go get some pots and you guys fill them with water, and then you bring the pots with the water back to me. And when they brought the pots and the water back to him, then he turned the water into wine. Turning the water into wine is the supernatural spiritual reality. But the practical existential reality was they had to go get the pots and the water, so that there are things that we need to do to be safe and to be prepared practically. But then there's some things that God is going to do for us supernaturally. And those don't fight against each other. They cooperate with each other. And so we have to live with both of those things in tension, so that we are not a people without hope. We approach everything we do from the standpoint of hope, to the extent that when it comes to crises like these, we actually look for opportunities not to hoard, but we look for opportunities to actually bless and give away. That's what we look to do. That's why I told you a little bit earlier, I don't want any PFBCer going without. And if you let me know that you're in need of something, I'm going to do the best I can to make sure that we get you what it is that you need, because we should respond different to crises than everybody else, because of who our Father is, right? If we believe that he's Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide, then let's believe that, and let's believe that fully, right? So do what you can for yourself and your family. That's responsible. But then let's trust God for the rest of it, and let's look for opportunities to give. We just did almost 3 months on generosity. I didn't know the virus was coming. I didn't know this was going to happen. Maybe God gave us that series for a reason, right? Maybe he gave us that series for a reason, because now it's time to learn how to be generous in real, practical ways.